In today's class, we will be discussing non-verbal interaction. When we talk about non-verbal interaction, interaction through gestures, facial expression and body language is called non-verbal interaction. For example, if I make the signs, it means good, like, and so on and so forth. So when I do like this, it means something which is positive. You like somebody's work, or you like somebody's speech, and so on and so forth. When I make the sign, it means victory sign, peace sign. So these are interaction through gestures, facial expression, body languages, which are called non-verbal interaction. For example, I am talking to you, dear learners, and there are certain facial expression which I may make, or there are certain body language during the course of the lecture which may show whether I am excited in coming here and talking to you, or I am comfortable or not comfortable. There are certain facial expression wherein it will show my excitement, it will show whether I am bored, body language in terms of whether I'm excited for the course, whether I like a person, whether I am uncomfortable, and so on and so forth. So when you talk about non-verbal interaction, it means interaction through gestures, facial expression and body language. In part 1, we talked about how verbal interaction takes place with the use of speech and language. In today's class, we will be talking about non-verbal interaction, which is through gestures, facial expression and body language. Body language consists of body movement, gesture and eye movement. For example, if I am talking to a person, if my eye movement goes here and there, the other person will come to know that I am not interested in whatever he or she is speaking, and the other person would feel that I am distracted because my eyes, I do not have eye-to-eye contact with him. There is a lot of eye movement, so the other person will come to know that I am distracted, I am not interested in the conversation or the interaction that we are having. It is believed that 93% of our communication is through body language, and only 7% of communication is through words. Body language gives clue to our state of mind. Gesture are a form of body language. It is a motion of the limbs or body made to express speech or thought. The fact is that most of us simply do not realize reinforcing potential of smiles, head nodding or sounds of approval. The secret is to practice these tools for good and positive interaction. Let us now discuss some of the non-verbal gesture. Before we move on to some of the non-verbal gesture, dear learners, there is a lot of potential when you smile at a person, because while interacting with the other person, when you smile or when you nod your head like this, or you make gesture like wow, without even speaking, do like this. This is a gesture telling the other person that you like what he or she is talking about. You nod your head like this, which goes to show that you are liking the other person's or whatever he or she is talking about. You smile, which means the other person feel comfortable interacting with you. So these are the non-verbal gesture which goes a long way in establishing a fruitful relationship. And it is very important to practice these tools for good and positive interaction. It goes a long way in establishing a healthy relationship with others. Now let us discuss some of the non-verbal gestures. The V sign originated from two-finger salute. This was the V sign made by Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister during World War II, which meant victory. The V sign also can be interpreted as a peace sign also. Clench your fist, the clench fist, which was adopted by the Black Panthers, which means revolutionary struggle. Then when you shake hands with people, the gesture of handshake is originated from the idea of showing to all that one's hand held no weapons. In this time of pandemics, maybe you are not comfortable with shaking hands because of the COVID protocol, or because of this pandemic. You may gesture by, folding your hands, which means greeting a person. This is a gesture of greeting a person. So these are the various ways by which you non-verbally interact. Another form of non-verbal interaction is courtesies. Courtesies are good manners and etiquettes. It is neither wealth, fashionable clothes, nor educational qualification that makes you a courteous person. It is good manners and etiquettes accepted by the society, accompanied by pleasant words. Good manners are consideration for others' feelings and comforts. Etiquette must be based on respect and kind feelings for others. So, not because you have money, you are very wealthy, you wear fashionable clothes, you wear designer clothes, or you have the best of education, it necessarily does not make you a courteous person. Courteous person may be poor, he or she may not be rich, he may not wear designer clothes, but there are certain manners and etiquettes which may be portrayed by a person who is neither rich, wealthy, nor have a very good educational qualification. There are certain etiquettes and good manners which are accepted by the society, accompanied by pleasant words. For example, the way you behave, or the way you talk to a person, an elderly person, a senior citizen, or the way you address somebody in your office. There are certain good manners and etiquettes which are accepted by the society. Then punctuality. Before you eat, you wash your hands. After you eat, you wash your hands. All these are good manners and etiquettes which are accepted by the society. And when we talk about non-verbal communication, it involves the conscious and unconscious processes of encoding and decoding. So what are encoding and decoding? Encoding is defined as our ability to express emotions in a way that can be accurately interpreted by the receiver. On the other hand, decoding is called non-verbal sensitivity, defined as the ability to take this encoded emotion and interpret its meanings accurately to what the sender intended. Encoding is the act of generating information such as facial expression, gestures, and postures. Encoding information utilizes signals which we may think to be universal. Decoding is the interpretation of information from received sensations given by the encoder. Decoding information utilizes knowledge one may have of certain received sensations. For example, the encoder holds up 2 fingers and the decoder may know from previous experience that this means 2. There are some decoding rules which state that in some cases a person may be able to properly assess some non-verbal cues and understand the meanings, whereas others might not be able to do it as effectively. Encoding means the creation of messages which you want to communicate with other person. Let me give you a very simple example. Encoding is the process by which you translate your ideas into message, and these message you are communicating with the other person. You may use medium like an email, you may use a text, you may use a phone call. So encoding means it is a process by which you are translating your medium, your ideas. You want to communicate it with the other person, and you use mediums like text messages, you may use medium like your emails, you may use medium like the phone call, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, what is decoding? Decoding means listener or audience of encoded messages. So decoding means interpreting the meaning of the message. For example, a brick a breakfast cereal company want to convey the message to you to buy its product. So the breakfast cereal company would put up certain ad in the print media or in mass media. The breakfast cereal company would try to put this message saying that this breakfast cereal would give you so much vitamins, so much protein, and so on and so forth through ad placed in the print media or the mass media. So decoding means interpreting the meaning of the message of what the person is trying to give you. I have given you the example of how a breakfast cereal company through a print media ad or a mass media ad would try to convey the message to you, talking about how much helpful, how the amount of proteins, the amount of nutrients this particular breakfast cereal would give you if you take this every morning. So this is decoding. On the other hand, I said encoding is the process of how you translate your meanings, and how you translate these meanings is through the various mediums like your phone call, text messages, emails, and so on and so forth. Both of these skills can vary from person to person, with some people being better than others at one or both. So when we talk about skills of encoding and decoding, the way you are able to encode or decode, the skills would differ from person to person. Some people may be good in encoding, some people may be good in decoding, or some people may be good in both encoding and decoding. When we talk about gender, then a woman or women are found to be better decoders than men, since they are more observant of non-verbal cues as well as more likely to use them. So when we talk about gender in terms of a man and a woman, it is found that women are better decoders because they are more observant of non-verbal cues, and so they are, in most cases, they are likely to use them, that is the decoders. So women are found to be better decoders than men. Now let us go to the types of non-verbal interaction. First, let us discuss facial expression. Facial expressions are responsible for a huge proportion of non-verbal communication. Dear learners, I make an expression like this. How will you interpret it? Which means there would be certain ways by which you would be able to interpret my facial expression of just doing this. So, how much information can be conveyed with a smile or a frown, or by just looking at a person, or just seeing the expression of the person? A lot of information can be gathered. If I'm smiling at you, it means I am liking our conversation, or I like you. Or if I don't smile, it means that I'm not interested in what we are talking about. So verbal communication behavior differs dramatically between culture. However, the facial expression for happiness, sadness, anger and fear are similar throughout the world. Like, if I clench my fist and make an expression like this, it means I am angry. You may interpret my facial expression as being angry or being fearful. Or if I smile like this, it means I'm happy. Or if I frown, it shows that I am sad, or I am bothered about something. So facial expressions convey a lot of information about the other person. And in a lot of culture, the facial expressions are common for emotions like happiness, anger, sadness. However, non-verbal communication and behavior also differ between cultures. What is gesture? Gesture is also another form of non-verbal interaction. Deliberate movements like signals are an important way to communicate meaning without words. Common gestures include waving, pointing, using fingers to indicate numeric accounts. Other gestures are arbitrary and related to culture. So there are certain gestures like common gestures like I'm waving at you. This means I'm either saying hi or I'm saying bye to you. If I point like this to you, it means I'm pointing to you. Or if I indicate, while presenting or talking about certain things, this would present point number 1, this would present point number 2, or it could be a gesture of, it may be during a discussion in a meeting, high level meeting. When I make this sign, it means a victory sign, and so on and so forth. So there are certain common gestures which is common in all culture and society. But there are other gestures which are arbitrary and specific to culture. For example, in a courtroom setting, lawyers have been known to utilize different non-verbal signs to attempt to sway juror opinions, the opinion of the jury. For example, a lawyer may glance at his watch like this to suggest that the opposing lawyer's argument is tedious, is too long, he's not interested, or he may just signal saying he may just gesture using his two hands, which means that through this gesture that he does not know or he's surprised at what the other lawyer is talking about. So there are so many gestures by which you convey messages, you convey meaning. So gestures are movement and signals to communicate meanings without words. Then another example or another tool you can say for non-verbal communication is eye gaze. The eye plays an important role in non-verbal communication, and such things as looking, staring and blinking are important non-verbal behaviors. When people encounter people or things that they like, the rate of blinking increases and pupils dilate. Looking at another person can indicate a range of emotions, including hostility, interest and attraction. For example, let's say I like a particular picture of a person, a celebrity. I would gaze at that celebrity picture and I would smile and I would like gaze at that picture. This shows that I'm liking the picture. Or if there is a picture, traffic jam, I'll be like, I would gesture by saying, it's a chaotic situation. My eyes would be like, through my eye gaze, people will be able to make out that I do not like the picture, and so on and so forth. So eyes are also a very important tool of non-verbal communication. Just by looking, staring and blinking, people will be able to tell whether you are interested or whether you like a person, or there are certain range of emotions through eye gaze which you will be able to show, and these emotions could be hostility, interest and attraction. There is another way of non-verbal interaction, which is haptics. What is haptics? Communicating through touch is another important non-verbal behavior. There has been a substantial amount of research on the importance of touch in infancy and early childhood. For example, when they are infant in the household, or when you go and visit people, your friend or your relatives, they have an infant and you touch the face of the infant, or you press the infant cheek like this, or you slowly touch the hand of the infant. This is a way of non-verbal behavior wherein you find the infant beautiful, you find the infant cute, you find the infant these touch is the way of showing your likeness for the infant. So this is called haptics. Appearance. How does appearance come in the universe of non-verbal interaction? Well, appearance, when we talk about appearance, our choice of color, clothing, hairstyles and other factors affecting appearance are also considered a means of non-verbal communication. Culture is an important influence on how appearances are judged. While being thin tends to be valued in Western cultures, while being thin would be a epitome of beauty among models in the modeling industry. However, there are some African culture who relate full-bodied, full-figured bodies to better health, wealth and social status. So, being thin in Western culture or being thin for a person in the modeling industry is the epitome of beauty. In other culture, being healthy, having a full-figured body in some African culture, it is related to better health, wealth and social status. Then another form of non-verbal communication is your paralinguistics. What is paralinguistic? Paralinguistics refer to vocal communication that is separate from actual language. This includes factors such as tone of voice, loudness, inflection and pitch. Let me give you an example. I want to scold my children. I want to scold my child. So I will raise my pitch by showing that I'm angry at that particular child or my children. So raising my pitch or raising my tone of voice shows that I'm angry at the child or my child or the children. So this is a form of non-verbal communication which is also called paralinguistic. Consider the powerful effect that tone of voice can have on the meaning of a sentence. When set in a strong tone of voice, listeners might interpret approval or enthusiasm. The same words set in a hesitant tone of voice might convey disapproval and lack of interest. For example, I am talking to you and I talk very softly, my tone of voice is very weak, which you may interpret as, my tone of voice, if it is low, you may interpret saying that, thinking that I have lack of interest. But however, if I raise my voice, I become loud, and there are certain facial expressions by which you would come to know, you will be able to interpret that I am interested in whatever lecture I am having. These are the forms of paralinguistic. Then clothing is also another way by which you have non-verbal interaction. Clothing is one of the most common forms of non-verbal communication. The study of clothing and other objects as a means of non-verbal communication is known as artifactics or objectives. Types of clothing that an individual wears convey non-verbal cues about his or her personality, background and financial status and how others will respond to them. An individual's style of clothing can demonstrate their culture, mood, level of confidence, interest, age, authority, values and beliefs. For example, dear learners, when I come to take a lecture, when I come to take a class of BEDS 002, I would come and dress very formally. This is my way of conveying that I am serious in taking this lecture. So I would come dressed very formally. However, if I have to go and meet a friend, or if I have to go and watch a movie, or if I have to go to the park with my children or with my friends, then a certain kind of clothing, maybe I would be dressing very casually to show, this type of clothing will show that I am very casual because I have to go to the park or, to meet my friend for a movie and so on and so forth. So your style of clothing is also a very common form of non-verbal communication. By the clothes you wear, you would be able to know whether I am formal, whether, what is my mood, what is my interest, my authority, my age. Let me give you another example. Uniforms, for example, you would come to know that this particular person who is wearing, let's say a soldier will wear a particular type of uniform, a police officer will wear a particular type of uniform, a doctor will wear a white lab coat. So these are various ways by which through clothing you are communicating non-verbally. From your clothes you get to know whether, you get to know the person position, the person designation, or the person level of interest, mood, and so on and so forth. So at a mere glance, these outfits tell people what a person does for a living. Distance is also another form of non-verbal communication. The amount of space we maintain between ourselves and the other persons with whom we are communicating shows the importance of the science of proxemics, which is the branch of knowledge that deals with the amount of space that people feel it is necessary to set between themselves and others. Personal space or proxemics is a form of non-verbal communication, and it is the space surrounding each person. There are four distinct zones wherein we would categorize them into intimate, which is 0 to 2 feet, personal, which is 2 to 4 feet, social, which is 4 to 12 feet, and public more than 12 feet. So when we talk about personal space or proxemics, we are talking about the space surrounding each person, and there are these three distinct zones, which are intimate, which is the distance from 0 to 2 feet, then personal, which is the distance between 2 to 4 feet, then social, which is distance between 4 to 12 feet, and public, which is more than 12 feet. Personal distance is still close but keeps another at arm's length and is considered the most comfortable distance for most of our interpersonal contact, while social distance is used for the kind of communication that occurs in business relationships and sometimes in the classroom. Public distance occurs in situations where two-way communication is not desirable or possible. So dear learners, in today's class, which is week 6 of BEDS 002 part 2, we have talked about non-verbal communication. I have talked about how gestures, I have talked about how haptics, I have talked about how appearances and so on and so forth are the ways of non-verbally communicating with each other. So with this, I finish part 2 of week 6. Thank you so much for listening.